A heartbreaking moment for classic television fans. Brian Murphy, the beloved actor who defined British sitcoms in the 1970s, has passed away. His death marks the end of an era, leaving behind a legacy of laughter, warmth, and timeless performances. But Brian Murphy was more than just a comedian. He was a storyteller, a mentor, and a beloved figure in the entertainment industry. For decades, he entertained millions with his natural comedic timing and unforgettable characters. His portrayal of George Roper in George and Mildred and Man About the House turned him into a household name. But what was it about Brian Murphy that made him so special? Why did audiences feel such a deep connection with him? And how did his loved ones and the entertainment industry say their final goodbyes? Today, we take a heartfelt journey through Brian Murphy's life, his lasting impact on television, and the emotional farewell at his funeral. Brian Murphy was not just an actor, he was a legend in the world of British comedy. His ability to make people laugh effortlessly set him apart from others. Unlike many comedians who relied on exaggerated performances, Brian's humor came naturally. His facial expressions, witty one-liners, and perfect comedic timing made every scene unforgettable. Born in 1932, Brian started his acting career in theater before moving to television. He worked with some of the biggest names in British entertainment, but it was George and Mildred that made him a star. The show, which aired from 1976 to 1979, followed the lives of George and Mildred Roper, a middle-aged couple dealing with life's everyday struggles. Brian's portrayal of George Roper was special. He played the role of a simple, clueless husband in a way that was both hilarious and relatable. Unlike many male characters of that era, George Roper wasn't the typical confident or dominant husband. He was a lovable fool who always found himself in trouble, and audiences loved him for that. His character worked so well because of the incredible chemistry between Brian Murphy and his co-star, Eutha Joyce, who played his sharp-tongued wife, Mildred. Together, they created one of the most memorable and iconic couples in television history. But Brian's career didn't stop there. Even after George and Mildred ended, he continued to entertain audiences in various television shows, films, and stage performances. His talent was timeless, and he remained a respected figure in the industry for decades. The 1970s were a golden period for British sitcoms, and Brian Murphy was at the center of it. Shows like George and Mildred, Man About the House, and Last of the Summer Wine defined an entire generation of comedy. Unlike today's fast-paced and scripted comedy, these shows relied on clever writing, strong character development, and natural humor. During this time, British television produced some of the most legendary sitcoms, and actors like Brian Murphy became national treasures. His portrayal of everyday struggles through humor made people feel seen. His characters weren't larger-than-life personalities. They were real, relatable, and genuine. Even though decades have passed, George and Mildred still remains a fan favorite. It is often rewatched by older audiences who grew up with it and by younger viewers discovering classic British comedy for the first time. While Brian Murphy will always be remembered for his iconic roles, his contributions to the entertainment industry extended far beyond just acting. He was a mentor to many young actors, always ready to share his wisdom and experience. Many who worked with Brian spoke about his kindness and generosity. Unlike some actors who let fame change them, Brian always remained humble. He believed in lifting others up and was known for giving advice to aspiring actors trying to make a name for themselves. A former co-star once said, "Brian was the kind of person who never made you feel like a newcomer. He treated everyone with respect, no matter how famous he was." Even in his later years, Brian continued to be part of the entertainment world. He took on smaller roles in TV shows, films, and even voice acting. He never truly retired because acting was his passion. He loved storytelling, and he loved making people laugh. As Brian grew older, his public appearances became rare. But even in his final years, he remained connected to his fans. He was always grateful for the love and support he received throughout his career. Close friends and family revealed that, in his final days, Brian was surrounded by loved ones. Despite his health struggles, he never lost his sense of humor. Even in difficult times, he continued to share stories, laugh, and bring joy to those around him. One close friend shared an emotional moment from Brian's final days. Even when he was weak, he still had that sparkle in his eyes. He would crack jokes, just like he always did. He wanted people to smile no matter what. His ability to remain positive, even in his toughest moments, is a true testament to the kind of person he was. Brian Murphy's funeral was a moment of reflection and remembrance. The ceremony was attended by family, friends, and longtime colleagues who had worked with him over the years. It was a day filled with heartfelt tributes as people shared their favorite memories of Brian. During the service, many spoke about his incredible career, but even more spoke about the kind of person he was. His warmth, kindness, and generosity left an impact on everyone who knew him. One emotional speech came from a close friend who worked with Brian for decades. Brian wasn't just a great actor, he was a great human being. He had this rare ability to make everyone feel special. No matter how big or small your role was in his life, he made you feel important. Fans also paid their respects in different ways. Many took to social media to share their favorite Brian Murphy moments, posting clips from George and Mildred and other classic shows. His legacy was evident in the outpouring of love and memories. When we talk about great British comedians, names like Ronnie Barker, Leonard Rossiter, and John Inman often come up. But Brian Murphy had something truly unique. Unlike some comedians who relied on physical comedy or exaggerated performances, Brian's humor was subtle and natural. His comedic genius lay in the way he delivered lines, his facial expressions, and his ability to make even the simplest moments funny. His character, George Roper, is still one of the most beloved sitcom characters of all time. But more importantly, Brian's influence on television comedy is undeniable. Many comedians today still look up to him, and his performances continue to inspire new generations. Brian Murphy may no longer be with us, but his laughter, his warmth, and his incredible talent will live on forever. He brought joy to millions, and his legacy will continue through the shows he left behind. Even though Brian Murphy's time in the spotlight may have passed, his influence on future generations of comedians and actors remains strong. Many modern sitcoms still take inspiration from the style of humor that Brian and his colleagues perfected in the 1970s. His ability to bring laughter without relying on over-the-top performances set a standard for natural comedy. Young actors and writers continue to study his work, learning how to create characters that feel real and relatable. His legacy is a reminder that great comedy doesn't need to be loud or exaggerated. It just needs heart, timing, and authenticity. As long as there are sitcoms, Brian Murphy's name will be remembered as one of the greatest to ever grace British television. The passing of Brian Murphy is a great loss, but his spirit lives on through the countless moments of joy he gave to audiences. His laughter will echo in the hearts of fans, his performances will continue to entertain, and his kindness will never be forgotten by those who knew him. As we say goodbye, one thing is certain. Brian Murphy was more than an actor. He was a friend to millions, a legend of comedy, and a man whose impact will never fade. Rest in peace, Brian. Your legacy will continue to bring smiles for generations to come. Brian Murphy was not just a national treasure in Britain. His fan base extended far beyond. His shows reached audiences across different countries, and people from all walks of life connected with his humor. Whether it was a young viewer discovering George and Mildred for the first time, or an older fan reminiscing about the golden days of television, Brian's charm was timeless. In the days following his passing, fans from around the world shared their heartfelt tributes. Social media was flooded with clips, quotes, and personal stories about how Brian's performances brought them comfort during difficult times. This outpouring of love proves that true legends never fade. they continue to live on in the hearts of those they touched. While the world has said its final goodbye to Brian Murphy, his work remains a lasting tribute to his incredible talent. His shows will continue to air, his performances will still bring laughter, and his impact on comedy will always be felt. Perhaps that is the greatest gift an entertainer can leave behind, the ability to make people smile even long after they are gone. So, as we remember Brian Murphy today, let's celebrate his life, his work, and the joy he brought to millions. What is your favorite Brian Murphy moment? Let us know and keep his memory alive. But now, we ask you, what made Brian Murphy special in your eyes? Was it his unforgettable characters? His ability to make people laugh effortlessly? Or the way he remained humble despite his fame? And do you think today's comedy still holds the same magic as the golden era of British sitcoms? Let us know your thoughts, and let's keep Brian Murphy's memory alive by celebrating the joy he brought to the world.